Hi, if all the air on Earth became toxic, what would happen to humanity? This is the story of today's movie. The name of the movie is Air. The movie Air kicks off after all the air on Earth turns into toxic gas, forcing humans to live in underground shelters for hundreds of years. Now, let's go back to the start of the movie. In the first scene, we see the President of the United States warning people about an upcoming disaster, telling them that a poisonous gas will spread in the air. But then, the President reassures them, promising that they'll be safe by building underground shelters that can accommodate as many people as possible. In the second scene, years later, we find out that all the people in the United States have died because they couldn't control the situation, and the entire atmosphere became polluted. This pollution poisoned the Earth's population. But in one of the underground shelters, there's a guy named Barrow who's still alive. He works there with his friend, Carr. Their job is to maintain the bodies of people in freezing capsules so they can survive longer. Barrow and Carr also sleep in these capsules at night to ensure their safety. And in the morning, Barrow wakes Carr up so they can get back to work. Carr wakes up and starts by checking the air radar to see if there's any improvement in the atmosphere. Then we see Barrow giving Carr a list of tasks for the day. Carr gets annoyed and says Barrow should help out too. So, Carr suggests they play rock, paper, scissors to decide. If Carr wins, Barrow has to help him. Carr wins. So they split the work between them. Barrow checks the air filters and fans to make sure there's no air leakage, while Carr inspects the vaccines and medicines. After that, Carr looks at the pictures near the medicine cabinet, focusing on a photo of his wife, Ava. Suddenly, Ava appears behind him and asks, "When will you get me out of the capsule?" Carr tells her, "I'll get you out when the time is right, and until the air is clean and back to normal, you'll have to stay here." Here, we find out that Carr is suffering from hallucinations and delusions, and that Ava is just a figment of his imagination that he constantly talks to. Ava is actually in a freezing capsule. Afterward, Barrow asks Carr if all the equipment is working fine, and if everything is under control. Carr tells him everything's good. While they're talking, Ava shows up again and tells Carr, "Get me out of the freezing capsule. I want to stay with you." He replies, Now, just wait." Barrow asks Carr who he's talking to, and Carr says, "I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just checking the capsules." Then they head back to the main room. Carr is searching for a way to purify the air on Earth, but Barrow tells him there's no way they can survive outside the shelter. He says, "We need to give up and stay here until we die because, honestly, even if we stay here for a century, no one's coming to rescue us." Barrow pulls out a chessboard, and they start playing to pass the time. When night falls, Barrow goes to the bathroom and asks Carr to prepare their capsules so they can sleep. Carr gets Barrow's capsule ready and then starts preparing his own. But he doesn't notice that the machine is giving a warning signal due to high electrical pressure. Carr then grabs a vaccine vial to take before they sleep. Meanwhile, Ava appears again and tells Carr, "I feel like we'll be together again soon." Carr tells her, "Get out of here. I have work to finish." As Carr walks out, he's shocked to see that his capsule has caught fire. With flames everywhere, Carr rushes to the bathroom to alert Barrow and grabs a fire extinguisher to put out the flames. Barrow scolds Carr, saying, "You're careless. If you had been paying attention, this wouldn't have happened." They start arguing, not realizing that the oxygen meter in the shelter is nearly empty. Carr apologizes to Barrow and starts thinking about how to fix the burned capsule. Suddenly, the power goes out in the shelter, and the oxygen starts running out. Barrow and Carr rush to the main room to pull out the map and locate the route to the reserve fuel tank room. They open it just before the oxygen runs out, and they both pass out. Barrow and Carr manage to find the hallway leading to the room with the reserve fuel tank. They open it, and oxygen returns to the shelter, but the power stays off. Both Barrow and Carr feel like these might be their last breaths, and that they're going to die, Barrow confesses to Carr, saying, "I'm married and have 3 kids, but the shelter authorities took them away and separated us. I have no idea where they are now." As they're talking, the power comes back on, and the shelter systems start working again. They're overjoyed. Carr suggests they go to the emergency room in the neighboring shelter to get a new capsule. They leave, nervous about opening the door in case polluted air enters their shelter. But they execute their plan smartly. They manage to get a new capsule and return to their shelter. Barrow takes the new capsule for himself and gets inside to sleep. But he hears a strange sound. He asks Carr to check if oxygen is leaking. Carr goes to check, but suddenly Barrow starts suffocating and the capsule lid locks on him. Barrow tries everything to escape, but he can't move. When Carr returns, he's horrified at what he sees. He tears open the capsule lid and pulls Barrow out. Carr apologizes for leaving without checking, and Barrow, upset, refuses to speak to him afterward. They get a warning that the backup oxygen has only 1 hour left before it runs out. They're scrambling to figure out how to get another capsule lid in that time. Barrow suggests to Carr that they take one of the frozen people out of their capsule and let them die so they can use the lid. Carr refuses, saying he can't kill an innocent person just to save themselves. But as time runs out, and it becomes clear that this might be their only option, Carr reluctantly agrees. Carr goes to prepare the drug they'll inject into the person after they remove them from the capsule, planning to kill them. Suddenly, Ava appears and tells Carr not to go through with Barrow's plan. She tells him there's another way to get a capsule lid. Carr agrees with her and tells Barrow that he has a better idea that doesn't involve killing someone. Barrow gets angry and starts hitting Carr, but eventually he agrees and they head to the main room together. There, they find on the control panel that there's another nearby shelter, different from the one they had planned to go to. They can get the capsule lid from there, but to reach it, they'll have to go outside and face the polluted air. Carr decides to sacrifice himself and leave the shelter to get the capsule lid. Carr suits up in a protective suit and starts walking through the underground corridors. He sees blue particles floating in the air, a sign of severe pollution. Barrow guides him through the place using cameras and a radio. Eventually, Carr reaches the door of the nearby shelter and knocks hard, but no one answers. Carr is confused since every shelter is supposed to have 2 guards just like theirs. Barrow tells him to go to the back of the shelter, where he'll find a ventilation shaft he can enter through. Carr hesitates because he has a fear of dark and tight spaces, but eventually he convinces himself to go in. As he crawls through the shaft, he's shocked to find bodies inside. He finally reaches the end of the shaft, which is open, and quickly enters the shelter, only to be devastated by the sight of it. The entire place is destroyed and no one is alive. Carr contacts Barrow, telling him that everything they're going through is a lie, that all the nearby shelters are destroyed, and that they're the only ones left alive. He realizes that everyone on the surface and underground is dead. Carr decides to head back to their shelter, since there's nothing left in the destroyed one. But when Carr gets back, Barrow refuses to open the door and points a weapon at him. Carr is shocked and asks why he's doing this. Barrow tells him that he reviewed the camera footage and saw Carr holding a weapon before he left, assuming Carr was planning to kill him. Carr tries to defend himself, explaining that he only had the weapon for self-defense, not to kill Barrow. But Barrow doesn't believe him and refuses to open the door, telling him to stay outside until he dies. At this moment, Ava appears again and guides Carr to a secret way back into the shelter. Carr managed to get into the shelter through a secret passage. Once inside, he took off his protective suit. Barrow tried to shoot Carr, but Carr was able to escape and hide in one of the rooms. Carr started pleading with Barrow, begging him not to kill him because they're the last humans alive. But Barrow didn't care and kept searching for Carr until Carr managed to get away and head to the medicine room. At that point, Ava appeared again and told Carr to poison Barrow and get rid of him, because if he didn't, Barrow would kill him. Carr took a syringe and filled it with morphine to inject into Barrow and poison him. Carr then went looking for Barrow in the shelter, but couldn't find him. So he went to the camera room to check. He was surprised when he didn't see Barrow in any of the shelter rooms. Suddenly, Barrow appeared behind him and shot Carr in the shoulder. Carr was hurt and asked Barrow why he was doing this. Since they were friends, Ava appeared again, and Carr told her that they would be together soon. Barrow, now losing his grip on reality, asked Carr who he was talking to since no one else was there. Carr pulled out a picture of Ava and handed it to Barrow to show him. While Barrow was distracted by the picture, Carr took advantage and attacked Barrow, then ran away. Carr made his way to the capsule room and found a girl sleeping in a capsule who looked just like the one in the picture. Barrow threatened to kill her if Carr didn't come out, but suddenly, Carr attacked Barrow from behind and injected the poison into his neck. The poison took effect, and Barrow fell to the ground and died. Afterward, Carr returned to the main room to prepare to sleep. He was sad about losing his only friend, Barrow, and remembered the times they played chess together. Years later, we see the capsules start to open, and it's revealed that Carr is the one opening them. He then brings Ava out of her capsule and holds her. In the end, we learn that Carr had lost hope because there was no way to clean the air in the city from the toxic gas. In the final scene, he embraces his wife, and they both die together. That's where the movie ends. Follow us for more summary movies.